Welcome to Desert Skies Podcast. This is episode 3. I have 2 guests on here, both ladies, first lady guests, so that's cool. I'm going to ask you guys to introduce yourselves. I don't know you guys that well, so I'm not going to give my little piece that I usually do, so go ahead.
I'm Erin Higgs, and what my proudest accomplishment is I have been training to walk on to Weber's track team for about 5 months now. And it's my proudest accomplishment just because even if I don't make the team, I went out to the track every day when nobody was watching and nobody really cared, and I put in the work because it was important to me. So I think that is something to be proud of.
That's awesome. I think that shows a lot about your character.
Alright, I'm Chloe Stewart, and my greatest accomplishment is getting accepted into the University of Utah and being able to go there for my generals and then hopefully for med school and further.
Awesome.
Woo!
That's awesome. Well, I asked you guys to come on the podcast because I want to talk about something that every guy wants to talk about with a girl and have a good conversation about. This is just, what do you guys want from us, and what do you guys what do I want from you guys? I think that's going to be a fun conversation to have. So the first question, and we wrote a ton of these questions down before, is what do you look for in a guy?
I think that one of the most important qualities I look for in a guy is I just want them to be just like a nice, genuinely good person.
Okay.
Person that is like respectful, they treat others with kindness.
Right.
They have a lot of the same values as me, and they live up to those because that's important to them. I also am an athlete, so as an athlete, I would prefer a more athletic person.
Right.
I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
No, there's nothing wrong with that.
What else, Chloe?
Well, like you said, like, a guy that's respectful to everyone around him. Like, even, like, especially their mother.
Oh, yeah.
That just tells you a lot of how they
But you don't want a mama's boy, right?
Oh, no,
I
I'm
don't-
perfectly
don't-
happy to have
yeah.
a mama's boy.
Oh, okay.
Because
I know other people wouldn't want that, though. Like other girls,
if they can respect their mom, you know that they'll be able to respect you long term.
And not even just their mom, but, like, how they get along with their family. Like, I think that a lot of people in their families, like, have feuds with their siblings or whatever, and that's fine.
Right.
But, like, overall, whether or not you love and care about your family, I think...
You want good family dynamics in that.
Yeah.
That's good, yeah.
Because you know that, like, your future family would have a good...
Right.
Would be,
dynamic.
like,
Right,
stable.
there's good
Yeah.
cohesion. Yeah, that makes sense. So, the next thing is, like, what's a deal breaker? What's just, like, straight off the bat, if they tell you that, then it's over. Like, you're not interested,
They've
but you
cheated
could...
before.
Okay.
I just think that knowing, like, that they do certain things just makes me not interested in them.
So, like, what? Give
And
an example.
so, like, I am a very values-based person, and so my values are important to me. So, say I know that they, this is going to sound weird, but if I know that they don't like to go to church because I'm a religious person, I don't find them as attractive after that.
So, if they don't share, like, that core set of values.
Right.
What if they like to go to a different church, though? Like, say it's like I don't know, like, you're LDS, right?
Yes.
So say it's like a Baptist person. What if they love to go to church, but it's not your
I don't
church?
think that it's about their religion exactly as much as it is about the way that they choose to live it. So I know a lot of people who are religious, but only when it's convenient for them.
Okay.
And I think that that's really the point that I'm getting at, is like, if you have the values, you stick to the values.
Right.
Rather than...
So if they were, like, active and very devoted to living that lifestyle of their church, you would be still, like, interested?
Yes.
Okay.
Or, like, if they were not religious in the first place,
Right.
and I already knew that,
Right.
then that's a different situation. So I guess what I'm really saying is somebody that...
It's, like, good consistency when it comes to their values?
Like, they are a member of a certain religion.
Or they're not a member of a certain religion, but they're not acting like they are, or just want to,
Right.
you want one or the other, right? A clear, like, pathway.
Yeah, I mean, I guess.
Okay, you said I guess. What's unclear about that? Or, like, did I say that wrong?
It's just kind of like I have friends who are religious and are of the same religion as me, and friends who are not religious, and, like, if my friends who are not religious choose to become religious, that's fine. And if my friends who are religious choose that they later on don't believe that, then that's fine too. But it's like for the person that I'm looking for as far as like a relationship goes, or what I'm looking for in a guy,
Right.
I would prefer to have a guy that shares those same values as me and sticks to them. So like if they just were like, you know what, I just don't really feel like doing this right now, and then they are just wishy-washy about it, like I just don't find that very attractive.
You want like a good
Do you know what I'm saying,
conviction.
Chloe?
Yeah. It's just like, because you want someone that'll, I don't know how to like say it. You want someone that'll be like consistent all the time of what your standards are.
Right.
Because you don't want
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
You don't want someone that doesn't have the same standards as you, because
Right, because where do you
just-
draw the line
yeah.
and all that stuff? Yeah.
And and it's also easier, I think, in relationships when you share the same values, because you know that they'll respect
For sure, yeah.
Yeah.
what you're doing a
Because you
little
have
more.
boundaries and you guys both know them. I think that's why it's like super good to date within, you know, your own like religious background or cultural background, because like you know everything that's going on with that. Like I love being in Utah because everybody that I've, you know, gone on dates with so far has understood like what I've wanted from the date and what I expect to not happen. You know, I don't like have to, you know, say no to anything because we both have that understanding already. And I think that's something that's really nice. And I've also like, I was friends with a lot of people from Nepal, and so they would date within their culture a lot, and that's something that they enjoy too, is like, we know where we stand. So yeah, that makes
Yeah.
sense.
I think there's nothing wrong with even dating somebody of a different religious background or different belief set, or even if they have different values,
For sure.
just as long as you are on the same page about what you're wanting
Yeah.
and what you're looking for.
Right.
But
So
I think
you
that
know your
long
boundaries.
haul, long term, it's easier to get along with and have a relationship with somebody who shares that core belief set, I guess.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I think that's really important. That's the same thing for me. I'd look for the same thing in a girl. That's obvious. I think that's like something that you need for a good relationship to continue. You don't want to always be telling another person like what you're expecting. There should be some of it that's assumed, but I also think like laying it out there and being clear about what you want is still important, even in a relationship where you do understand that you share the same values, because you know, like pointing that out is really good, and just knowing where you stand directly. But
well,
it works, you know,
some
in a lot
people
of ways.
think you
like
have
that.
the same values, but like overall, like you have to be like kind of clear about what you think is okay and what you think is not okay, because
Right.
some people may think that like going out and drinking is okay every once in a while, and that's just like, if that's not what you want, then
Right.
obviously then
Right, and so you could think like that's why I say like getting it out there is really important, because
Yeah.
you got to be clear about what you want, regardless of whether.
communication.
Yeah, you don't
Yeah,
want to
100%.
assume. You never want to assume, because assuming just leads to miscommunication, and that's something that, you know, leads to more hardship down the road. And miscommunication on its own isn't a bad thing as long as it can be cleared up. But you also want to avoid it, especially when it comes down to boundaries and all that stuff.
Definitely.
Right. So it's like, what are your biggest do's and don'ts for guys?
Oh.
Especially, let's say guys that are you're in a relationship with.
After being in a relationship with somebody who didn't have a job, and then I had to pay for like a lot of what we did, I was happy to pay for it, except for when it got to the point where it's just expected. Like, he would ask me to go places with him, but then make me pay for it. And those are just kind of things that after a while you just don't appreciate. Like, I would love to be in a relationship with somebody who was hardworking and took the initiative to get a job to
Well, always willing to like put in the effort. Because if they're not willing to like
So
put in the effort,
it's more of an effort thing than a money thing in that situation.
Yes.
Okay.
for sure.
I mean, that makes sense. Like, I would be kind of pissed off too if I got asked on a date and then I had to pay for that. Like,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
super lame.
When it gets to the point where it's like every single time you do anything and it's like, oh, well, I guess I'll pay since
Right.
you can't, or like I'll drive, I'll like, when you're the only one doing anything.
Yeah, you start to feel
it's-
taken
yeah.
advantage of.
Well, and it
Right.
wasn't even the fact that they couldn't. It was more just that they didn't
want to.
Want to,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, that's That's pretty gross, actually. I'm not about that. Being raised in a military household, making sure that we're not taking advantage of the people who have been so kind to us. You know, we don't live anywhere for very long, and so we make sure that like we leave a good mark. And one thing that we make sure that we do every time is we try to make sure that nobody feels taken advantage of. And so like one example is over the past 2 weeks we've been on break. I've got like a billion different rides from Jaren. We recently went on a trip, and I'm trying to make sure that he knows that I don't expect that from him, and I'm not gonna ask him for that if he doesn't want to do that, And right now I'm in a weird situation where I can't drive. There's a bunch of stuff going on with the state, but he has been kind enough and gracious enough to offer me rides when I need them. But I also am like, I need to pay, this forward. I need to like, I know, maybe you don't pay for gas, but I want to pay you for your time. I want to pay you because I appreciate what you've done for me. And so that was a big thing for me because, like, in my relationships, I want to make the other person feel appreciated. And what I'm hearing from you guys is, like, first off, you don't feel appreciated. There's no effort being shown. And then that's something that just leads to, like, kind of feelings of spite or just, like, why are you doing this? Why are you making me do this? Yeah. Like, I feel like in the situation with me getting a bunch of rides, I just want him to know. And, like I told him this, I was like, my dad has raised me to make sure that I'm not taking advantage of anybody, and I want them to know unequivocally that, if they feel taken advantage of, they need to tell me, and then I'm gonna stop, or I'm gonna change something so that you feel appreciated for what you've done for me, because I'm not the kind of person that's just gonna be like, I expect everything from anyone for little or no in return. I'm the kind of guy that's like, it's a 50-50 or even sometimes like a 25-75 thing, where if they're giving like the smallest little bit of effort, I want to show them, like, even though that's not a big thing to them, that's a big deal to me. So I think that's part of it for me, at least, is I want that appreciation in my relationships.
I think that the 25-75 thing is kind of an interesting concept, just because in some of the relationships that I've been, I just kind of feel like I give more and I put more into it than they did, if it's time, energy, money, like thought, and just feelings, just whatever else. And like, feeling like that is not good for you.
I think that, like, if someone's having like a down day, then it's good that you're putting in 25% more effort than you normally would have, because they might need it then.
Right. Mm-hmm.
But when you're sitting and it's constantly you're putting in 75% effort and they're only putting in 25%, that's where it gets to the point where you're just like, that's not really what I want to deal with.
And that shouldn't be constant. 25-75 should never be the expected, like, that shouldn't be something that you expect over the course of a relationship. Everyone always like says it's really corny, but it's 50-50, right? You want equal feelings in exchange from each other.
You should be like a team.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, you want to also bounce off of each other a little bit in terms of like energy and everything like that. Just like, and I hate that word because it's been like all weird and twisted and everything, but like legit energy. Like, if you say like I love you and then the girl's like, no you don't, or no you don't, or why do you love me? Then it's like, okay, never mind. Like I want to take that back now, because why did you do that? But I also think like, for somebody like me, I really, like, I have ADHD, right? And so my energy is just, like, off the walls 1 second, and then the very next second, I mean, like, it happens so fast, I'm right back down to earth. And it's super hard for me because, like, in a relationship, it's hard for a girl to keep up with me, And I think, like, I experienced that last time, is they're like, are you feeling okay today? Like, they had to ask me that, are you feeling like you're able to give more? And I hate for them to have to do that, but for me it was like super important that they understood, like, some days I'm going to need that 75-25 in terms of making this relationship.
When you're starting off though, like, I think it's good that they're like sitting and asking, because like when in the beginning you don't know,
right?
And so when you're just like trying to like understand what
getting to know you, right. And I mean, unless you're like really good friends, you're not going to know that. And I think that was hard for me, but when they started to get that, I felt like more love, just because they were able to like appreciate, like, I'm having a weird day, or they could keep up with, like, I know earlier in the day I was like super low and now I'm like way in the clouds, and they can keep up with that or understand and like not be freaked out by it, because like I'll tell you, like, the worst thing that I've ever had happen to me was I was on a date and I was really, like, mellow for the first part of the date, and then the second part I just got this energy spike and I felt great, but they kept looking at me like I was crazy, and I was like
Uh-oh.
it really hurt my feelings. Like, I was super down because of it. I felt really bad. I felt like I had done something wrong. I felt like I couldn't control myself, and, like, I started to, like, really not like that person anymore because I felt like super judged and just, but then, that's something for me. Do you guys experience that same thing, or is that, like, I mean, obviously not the ADHD part of it, but just, like, the energy exchange, is that something that is really important to you, or?
I think that it's important to me that the person I'm in a relationship with takes me as I am.
Yeah.
And doesn't try and think that I should be a different way just because they want me to, because it's just not going to happen.
Right.
I'm going to be how I want to be, and if they can't deal with that, then that's
Right.
too bad. It's just not going to work out. But as far as, like, the energy exchange goes, I think that aside from ADHD, everybody has highs and lows. Everybody has
For sure.
those experiences where some days you feel a little better and some days you don't feel as good, and, like, they, as your partner, should be there to help you through,
Right, regardless of
talk to you,
where
even just
you're
sit
at.
there and listen
Yeah.
to whatever it is you have to say. And I just think that is
I mean,
you picking up.
if it goes on too long, that's where it gets, like, really hard, right?
Right.
Like, if you're giving that, like we were saying, like 75-25, I understand, though, because, like, somebody could be depressed and be very depressed for a long time, and you still want to be there for them, but you're giving that 75. I think that's the point where you're like, is this the right thing to do right now? Is this the right kind of relationship to be in? And that's where things get tricky, is especially, like, in terms of relationships, you just have to be honest with yourself. Like, am I able to go on giving this 75-25 and wait for them to be ready whenever that will be, or can I keep going with this? And I think that's probably a really common thing to happen, is, like, can I keep going with this unequal energy exchange?
Well, I think that, like, a lot of people struggle with depression, and that's okay. But I just think that if you're in a relationship where you constantly feel like you're giving and they are always the one taking,
Right.
that's where the relationship doesn't work out, because one person is always being selfish, and I think that is where almost every single relationship problem stems from, is one person in the relationship is being selfish.
Right.
And I don't think that has something to do with depression as much as it is just how people are.
Right, yeah, just, like, just your feelings in general. So
Right.
I noticed we cut you off, like, a couple
Sorry.
times. I just wanted to say what you were gonna say.
That's my bad.
Like, I don't know, just, like, because you sit in your, like, when you're in a relationship and you're, like, going through something hard, like, it's nice that they're able to be there for you,
Mm-hmm.
and to, like, be able to, like, even if it is just, like, sitting and listening to, like, something that's been going on, and, like, that they're actually, like, willing to put in the effort there to,
Yeah, to
like,
be there for you.
to
Yeah.
understand and to, like, be there
Right.
for something that not a lot of people really know
Right.
Yeah.
is happening.
I will say, like, so I've moved a bunch of times, which makes me a people person, right? I have to be a people person in order to, like, function well and get into social groups quickly, because, like, the more you move, the more you have to just be willing to kind of butt your head in and be like, I'm here, look at me, like,
Yeah.
and you have to do that. But I constantly feel like I'm giving more and more and more and more,
Mhm.
but nobody paces with me because they don't have to get in and get out, right? It's like,
Yeah.
they're there for their life. And so they don't feel any sense of urgency. When I get somewhere, I feel like I need to get to know somebody. And so I'm pouring in, like, energy over and over again, trying to get somebody to, like, disclose, or just, like, just tell me things, or just be in, that connection, with me, like, have a relationship, even just a friendship. And then sometimes I feel like it's off balance, but then I have to realize my expectations are, like, totally warped, So, like, for me, my relationships have been totally, like, I have to base everything off of more of, like, a perception of where they're at versus where I'm actually at, and I have to, like, kind of tone down my energy, and I have to try to match what they're doing or whatever, and that's where it gets tricky for me. But I want to move on from that. I want to say, what's a turnoff?
Oh boy. Oh.
Erin said this earlier today, littering.
Oh gosh. I can't tell you how much littering bothers me. Chloe dated this guy that used to, while he was driving, drop his trash out the window. And he was even a good friend of mine, and I could not stand that he did that. That alone made him just, like, absolutely off the table for me. No way.
Dang, yeah, that would happen to me too. I'm like, gross right now. That's
I'm
so
not
bad.
even really an environmentalist. It's just, I think, there's trash cans everywhere.
Right, yeah.
How lazy do you have to be?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the first plug that I made on this channel for anything was like Just Water, and that's a super environmentalist water bottle company, right? It's like right behind you, but it's just, I'm super into that, so that's definitely something I can relate to. What about you, Chloe? I mean, obviously that's one of them, but what's a turn off for you?
I don't know, like, obviously, like, I want a guy to be, like, interested in me, but when they sit and they're, like, trying to, like, push so hard to, like, I don't know, do you
like too
understand?
much?
Yeah, like, when they're like, oh, so are we gonna do something today? And I'm like, oh, actually I have this. Oh, well, when can you do something? Oh, wait, like, when they're
The
obviously, like, well, when they're just trying...
They're pushy a little bit? Yeah,
like, when they're pushy
So-
or trying too hard.
So from
Yes.
the perspective of a guy, how do I avoid being pushy while still showing you that I care? Because I think that's a balance that is really hard to strike with a guy. You know, you want to show them that you care. You're told that you need to show them that you care, but then you don't want to seem obsessive, and you're like, where do I draw the line? And it's different, I'm sure, for every girl, which is why it's like you have to recalibrate every time, which makes it 100 times more
I
difficult.
think some people just come on really strong. You know what I mean? And
For sure.
Sometimes it's nice because you meet somebody and you kind of feel a connection with them almost immediately, and you just get along well, and that's kind of different. But
I feel like that's where most relationships actually work, is when you start off as friends, you guys, like, get to know each other there, and then...
But it's like flirty friends, right? Like you kind of know,
Yeah.
but it's like but
like,
you're not being like overt about it. You're just
like,
you're kind of
I
keeping
talked
it like
to this
under
guy,
the radar.
and he, like, he'd sit and, like, call me, and, like, I didn't have his number in my phone. What was I supposed to do? So he'd, like, call me, and I'd, like, answer. He'd be like, hello? And he'd just be like, oh, yeah, so when are we gonna, like, hang out? And, oh, you want to go do something? I was like, who is this? Like,
Right.
what was I supposed to do?
Okay. Yeah. I mean, do you have any advice for hitting that, like, balance?
Just try and be friends first.
yeah, I think trying to be friends first is really important. A lot of the reason why it feels like guys are coming on so strong is because you just know that they're looking for something else,
Yeah.
Right.
and you just kind of get that vibe from the beginning, and you're just
And that's
like,
too much. Yeah. You want to ease into
you're
it,
like,
right?
whoa there.
Right. I think that's kind of, I mean, the same thing, like, I hate to use this a million times, but, like, moving around, you know, like I said, I'm a people person, so when I talk to people, I have this kind of, like, almost flirtatious or romantic way of talking, you know, I'm just kind of, like, I get into it because I'm quick, I'm like, I want to establish a connection, let's make a connection here, and I'm good at that, and people perceive it the wrong way, and so especially with girls, like, they're thinking that I'm into them, but I'm just, like, I'm just trying to have fun, you know, I'm just trying to be, like, bubbly and establish that connection, and then they're like, oh, are you interested in so-and-so? And I'm like, what? No, like...
Yeah, I think interpretation is different.
The other thing is
too.
that, like, there are people that are just, like, naturally, like, more flirty. And,
For sure, yeah.
like, after you've been friends with them
Then
for a
you know,
while,
yeah.
then you know.
Right.
But, like, right off the bat, there's some people that you're like, oh my gosh, like, what are they doing?
Right.
But, like, obviously you gotta kind of, like, understand what, like, their personality is like.
Okay, so that's how you figure out if you're being too pushy or not, just kind of get to know them a little bit more.
Yeah.
And I think that you can avoid, like, skipping over that step by taking it slow. So, like, obviously just get to know them a little bit, and then the more that you know them, the easier it'll be to, like, understand, you know, how to not be pushy with all that stuff.
Like, being able to talk to someone for, like, a lot, like, being able to just, like, carry on a conversation for a long time is super helpful because...
Right, because then you get to...
Yeah.
Yeah, you kind of feel each other out, and you're like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, these... couple of these were your guys' questions, I just want to say. This one is your guys' for sure. What's a turn on?
Oh, kind of a joke. It's just kidding.
Well, this is kind of not a joke as well, though. I mean...
I think that funny guys are the best kind of guys. If they're funny,
Yeah.
definitely, like, the personality.
Right.
Obviously, physical affection goes into every kind of
That's a given, yeah.
relationship, but the personality is what keeps it going. And
Right.
I think that somebody that's just funny and fun to be around and fun to talk to, like,
Well, if you're able to like sit and like make jokes off of each other all the time, and it's just like, it just makes it fun.
Well, and
yeah,
It makes you enjoy being there.
Right, that's the energy thing too. I think
Yeah.
like it's kind of fun because you feel each other building up to like just stupid levels of like jokes and stuff, and
Yeah.
you're getting out of hand. Like, I think when you met me, we just kept saying "shoddy" the entire
oh
night.
my
Like,
gosh.
and then we were watching. I think it was Paranormal Activity 3, and me and Jaren like had the best time watching this movie because we're going MILF the entire time, just like the entire time, and it's a horror movie. Like that's definitely
And then
not the
Jaren's
vibes.
friend said DILF.
Right. Oh my gosh, what the freak even is it?
DILF.
Jeez.
Anyways.
Yeah, shout out Riley. Oh my goodness. But anyway, yeah, I mean, that's like when things get fun, and I love that. Like getting that with a girl, you know, where they can actually like not be like weirded out by like humor. That's the same thing for me. I like somebody who's funny. They don't have to be like the most ingenious comedian, but I like when they can kind of like match my level of stupidity when it comes to.
So you have the
humor.
same answer for the question?
No, that's definitely. I just agree. That wouldn't be
Okay,
like.
so what is
Yeah,
your
you're gonna answer the question.
My
turn
thing,
on?
My thing. I just like girls who care. I mean, just care a lot, like about the things that they do and the people that they know and the things that they love. Like I like for them to be really passionate, and if they're not passionate, then it's something that's like, maybe you won't be passionate about us, and I'm not gonna look at a future where I'm not. That's like an energy thing. I look at it that way, and then also I just like people to be obsessed with what they do. Even to the point where it's like, wow, like that person's kind of weird. Like I like that. Like. When I started working out, I was only into work. Like I would just work out for hours a day, and I loved it. Like I felt so good. But when I started like looking for, a girl, they're like, oh, you work out like all the time, and you're kind of like doing like this, and you're way too like obsessed with this. It's like kind of weird, and you always talk about this. But when a girl like, I don't know, I was talking to this girl in like who's into nutrition, right? And she's telling me like all of this stuff, and I'm just like. Hard eyes like the entire time. I'm like, yes, please. Like I will take that any day of the week because I just like girls who are kind of like, into what they're
like
into.
Passionate about
because
what
passion in that area can translate to passion in a relationship, and more than that, it's just fun because they care and they have feelings, and that's
Right.
something that's clear.
I like that.
Yeah. What are? Oh, okay. So you had a question for me. You said, how should girls be treated?
Yes.
I think it depends on the girl a lot, depending on like where you grow up. So like when I was in Texas, it's more of like a men lead the way, but your woman's still strong type of deal. Because when I was in Texas, there's a huge culture around like the lady, let's be honest, like the woman is most of the time controlling the household in a lot of ways, depending on obviously your house structure. But like I know in my house, my dad said nobody's happy unless mom's happy, right? And that's like a big thing. And then he's like, I'll do anything for your mom. So like when we were moving, we had options. We didn't have to come to Utah, but he said, if your mom chooses that she wants to go to Ohio instead of Utah, I'm gonna follow your mom because I love your mom, and that's that's something that I'm willing to do for her. And he said that, and I think that girls should be treated as as such. Like that's how it goes. The way that I would treat a girl, and this is just like coming from me, I don't care where we are, what we're doing, or what they think. I'm going to be there for them in any way that I can. If they ask me for something, then I'll give it to them, and if they need something, then I'll find a way to get it to them. Because once we're married, my personal life, like me as a person, isn't just me anymore. We are married, right? And so I'm giving you
a unit.
I'm giving you everything. I'm willing to spend all of my life and every ounce of who I am to be what you need me to be because I've made this commitment. And so at that point, like a girl needs to be treated as your opportunity to show that you are more than just yourself, right? You need to be committed to more than just yourself, and you need to show them that. And a girl should be treated with love, affection, and respect. And as far as they respect themselves and do those things themselves, then I think that's all that they demand in in return, you know?
So
Quite
outside
simply said
of so outside of like a relationship sense, what do you think about treating girls then? Like just
Who
girls
are-
you're friends with,
Okay.
or like your sister or your mom, like how
How
Yeah.
do you
with
feel
what
they-
degree of respect? Because some people think, you know what, I think that girls should be treated the same as everybody else, and some people think that, like, you don't hit a girl. Has anybody ever told you that? Like, you do not punch
Right.
a girl.
Right. I think, I don't know, like, to bring up something, I don't know. I believe Johnny Depp. Let's just say that. I'm a Johnny Depp fan. I think that he's, I think there's a lot of evidence to prove that he was in a very bad situation, but in his situation, I think he had every right to defend himself. And I think if they are at the point where they are physically abusing you, then that's the point where you can, you know, retaliate and get out. I don't think that you don't go too far with it. Like, you know, say you're getting hit, you know, hit them and leave. Like, if you have to hit them and leave. Don't keep going, you know.
Yeah.
But also, like, I'm never gonna hit somebody when we're having a conversation. I think like a big thing that taught me that was growing up with my brother. We didn't get along, right? And you know, my brother's not a girl, but we we kind of had this thing where we'd bicker with each other, and I'd get to the point where I really wanted to hit him, but I had to remember, like, this is my brother, this is somebody who I love, this is somebody who I respect, and beyond that, he's a human. I'm not gonna.
Yeah.
I have no right unless he's hurting me to hit him, and I've only been in one fight with my brother, and it was when I was 12, and after that, you know, I've never hit him out of anger. I've
Yeah.
never done that because that is something that is so against what I believe. And I'm an MMA fighter. Like, you would think I'm just like aggressive in my nature, but really I keep that out of like conversations. Like, why in the world could words move you to that type of anger, especially against somebody that you claim to love or be friends with? How in the world is that going to happen? Like, how can you let yourself get that far? Because that's just a self-control issue. So
Yeah.
Well, yeah, if you're like put in that situation to like the point where it gets to like,
right,
are
physical
you really
violence.
friends? Like,
Or do you
at
really
that-
love them?
yeah.
Right.
like you need to get out of that friendship or relationship.
Remove
because
yourself
it's
from the
not-
situation.
Yeah.
If you feel like you're gonna hurt somebody, then you need to leave. Like,
Right.
the reason I started fighting is because I wanted to hit Jackson, but I was like, I'm not gonna do that. That's not who I am. I'm gonna go and find a constructive way. And I was like, boxing, it's a sport. It's good. We both, it's consensual. You know, we're just gonna fight each other. That's how it works. And that's what it was. You know, I was just like, I had to go find, and it was. I mean, not all of it's that direct. You know, like, fight. I wanted to fight, so I went and fought. Like, some people are like, I wanted to fight, so I went and, you know, played soccer or something like that. You know, whatever it
Yeah.
is. Like, or like, I wanted to fight, so I went and run. You know, like,
Mhm.
ran and everything. Like, that's something that I do, you know? Like, if I got really upset with my parents, I'd go and run for an hour, and when I came back, I was ready to talk to them in a respectful way and not, you know, not in a degrading type of way or anything like that. So, but yeah, that's, to answer your question, I think that, you know, girls should just be treated with respect.
Yeah.
That's just what it is.
All right. Yeah.
Yeah, so, what are you guys' feelings on the word simp?
Yep.
I think simp jokes are funny.
Right.
Because I don't know, they're just they're funny. I think that it's also kind of changed the way that
I feel like it changed the way guys treat girls now.
like the way that they go
yeah.
about
In a more serious sense, right? Like legit, like,
Yeah.
it's actually changed
Like,
it.
They don't want to sit and like when they're with their guy friends, they won't sit and I don't feel like they'll be like as respectful to
Oh, that girl. or
the
something.
girl
Yeah.
that they could potentially like because they'll be called a simp for the way that they're treating them.
Right.
yeah, and well, you also, like, I know I'm a people pleaser,
Mhm.
so you don't want people to be upset at you. You don't want to have your friends feel like you're betraying them for somebody that you like or are interested in.
Oh, right. So,
But
yeah.
also, like, you like them, so
Right. I think the word simp is just really manipulative, especially if you're in a relationship and the other person's in a relationship and you call him a simp. Like, that's kind of funny, but I think a lot of it happens where you're in a happy relationship that's flourishing and you're spending a lot of time with that person, you're appreciating them and doing a lot of things for them, and then some dude who's unhappy comes out of nowhere and is like, you're spending so much time on that girl, oh my gosh, you're so...
I definitely think that some people take it too far.
They do, yeah.
But some jokes are funny.
Oh, jokes are hilarious, yeah, but you also have to detach, like, the realistic aspect of that. Like, you can't legitimately apply simp to somebody who's just putting love and affection into a relationship.
I think that my opinion of what a simp actually is a person that changes the way that they are or what they would normally do to impress somebody.
For sure, yeah.
So I think that in that sense, that kind of makes the jokes funny.
Right.
When people actually, like, embarrass themselves
Right.
by changing who they are completely to impress a girl or something like that. So that's why I think it's funny, but...
Yeah,
like if it's just a relationship,
I mean, if it's like if it's the legit definition, then I think it's totally like it's kind of funny and justified in a way. But if it's like I said, like putting love and affection into a relationship, and then you get called a simp for it, it's kind of like, oh, like that's kind of weird.
And then it
why
makes
would
you feel bad, yeah.
Right, and you're like, why would you do that? And I think that's something. So we're at 35 minutes. I just want to say really quickly, follow us on Instagram. It's Desert Skies Podcast. Really plain and simple. And then at the end, I'll have you guys shout out your Instagrams if you want, but you don't have to do that. And so that's, yeah, I agree. I think that simp is like, it's funny to a degree, but I also think it's got out of hand. So
Yeah.
How do family dynamics change a relationship?
I feel like a person who's super, like, family-oriented will treat you with more respect than someone who doesn't really care to have, like, a relationship with their family.
I have a friend who is dating this guy, and his family cannot stand her. And she tries so hard to please them and make them like her.
Right.
And they just really, really don't like her and don't approve of their relationship. And I think that really puts a strain on things because, like, for instance, her boyfriend, he wants to please his family, but he wants to please his girlfriend.
Right.
And
it's like pick one.
Yeah. It puts a lot of tension.
Right.
The thing is that I feel like your family should be kind of, like, supportive of what you're doing no matter what. So
maybe in like a relationship sense.
Yeah, like
if it's healthy.
Yes, thank you.
Because I wouldn't say no matter what.
Okay, like, but like,
because like if my brother's dating somebody who's hitting him, then I'm gonna be like,
yeah,
get the hoe out of here.
Just like that.
Yeah, honestly, yeah. I mean that's how we communicate. So probably.
No, but like I'm.
No,
I know what you're saying, yeah. No, and I didn't mean to, like, invalidate what you were saying.
No, I think that your family should be there to support you. That doesn't mean that they shouldn't be honest with you.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I expect my family to tell me if there's something going on that they see that I obviously can't see.
Right,
they should, because they're my family.
Right, and you're in that puppy dog love phase where you can't see any imperfections.
But that doesn't mean that they just cut you off and stop caring about you and put you against somebody.
Well, that's the thing is that when you're in a relationship and you feel like you're happy there, and like obviously they're not going to be there for everything that you go through.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So all the things that they don't see about your relationship should be, like, I don't feel like they can really have a say on that because they should just be like supportive if you're happy. Then.
Right.
Like, I don't know why you have to sit and be like, oh, you have to choose your family over this person, or we're not going to be your family anymore.
I think that family should have a really outside hand in things. Like, my relationship is my relationship, and as far as it doesn't get to a point where it's dangerous or anything, then it's really none of your business, you know? Like, my parents do a really good job of, like, distancing themselves from me and all of that. They don't, like, act like they don't care, but they don't obsess over it, or they don't like tell me one thing or another, you know, like if I ask they'll tell me, you know, but they're not like just going out of their way to tell me something about it, you know. Like when I was dating one girl, my mom was like, I was like, what do you think of her? And she hadn't said anything about her after she had met her or anything like that, and I didn't really understand. I thought she may have not liked her, and she was like, I thought she was gorgeous, I thought she was really funny, and I thought she was a great person. And I was like, oh, okay, why didn't you say that? And she's just like, I don't know, you know, you didn't really ask for it. I didn't want to make you feel weird about it or anything, and I didn't want to, like, offer it anything that wasn't, you know, asked for, because you're obviously happy, so.
Yeah. Well, like, on the flip side of what I said, I was in this relationship with a guy where his mom specifically was just very, very, very involved.
Mhm.
Like, always wanted to be in the loop of
yeah.
everything that was happening.
Right.
And that also, I think, puts a strain on the relationship because
Right, too much family involvement.
Yeah.
it's your relationship, you and this guy.
Right.
And so to have somebody else always just trying to wiggle their way in
Mhm.
and always be in your business just makes things...
It doesn't feel as personal too.
Well,
yeah.
I feel like if you're like willing to talk to them about it, then it's okay. Like if you're like,
Right,
oh,
if
well,
you
this
ask for that,
happened, and
right.
so like, what do you think?
Because
Then,
inviting it is a
Yeah.
different thing, because then you're
But-
asking
but-
for that.
but when they're sitting and they're like, oh, well, I feel like I have
Right,
to
'cause
be in
that's-
this because you're
it's
my
uns-
child, and
It's unsolicited
Yeah.
advice. You don't want that. Like,
yeah,
just shut up. Like, like stop. I don't care.
I mean, good point.
Yeah. Like, yeah. So family dynamics are important. It just has to be kind of
restrained.
right to a degree. I think once you get married, I think it changes because they should have some level of involvement. But I also think like once you get married, that's your family. You know, like you
Yeah.
should care more about that person at that point.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but like I think maybe if your girlfriend and you're 16, you know, is taking priority over your family, then maybe there's something weird there. Like, I don't know.
Well,
but,
I guess I should give a little more context because what had happened was, and the reason why it was so bothersome is because he told her not to do certain things and then she would do it anyway.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
so she would like go behind his back and then text me asking about this, that, and the other. And like
yeah, right. So she went out of her way to
it wasn't
like,
even
defy
just the
that.
fact that it was his mom. Just any person doing that where they go out of their way and wiggle their way into your relationship is just like
right.
puts a strain.
So another question. This one's going to be fun. How big of a role do looks play in a relationship?
Well,
Do you want me to start? Because I could.
Sure,
I could
go
definitely
ahead.
Go. I would say it's 50% in the beginning, and then it gets like less and less as you go on.
I think that looks catch your eye.
Right.
But it's not what makes me interested.
Right.
If that makes sense, because like there are enough things that could be deal breakers where I wouldn't pursue somebody unless their personality got me. Does that make sense?
Yeah, for
So
sure.
it's like their looks catch your eye in the first place.
And then you kind of do some digging, and then you decide. Yeah.
Yeah, and then you like get to know them a little better, and does that make sense?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that makes sense.
no, because like you're not gonna try and go after someone that you don't find attractive at the beginning.
Yeah.
If you find them attractive, then you're like, okay, well, I'm interested this far. Now I get to go in and see if there's other, like, your personality, if that will draw me in more in the things that
Is
are
it more
really-
than a physical
yeah.
attraction? Yeah.
Yeah. But like for me, I've been in relationships with people who I didn't even initially find attractive
Okay.
yeah.
because I started talking to them. Like I said, the looks
They're-
normally catch your eye, but in this circumstance, I was just already talking to them because they were there.
Right.
And then we got into the relationship, and then as you're in the relationship with them, you find them more physically attractive.
Okay.
Well, I feel like
It's not-
starting off like a friendship
Right.
where, and then you guys get to that point, then you will
Right.
gradually find them more attractive.
More attractive.
Well, and I think that's a weird thing to happen, you know? Like, not like that doesn't happen a lot, but, like, you gotta think about that. Like, what's really important in that case? Like, if you get to know a person, I think that's even better than you initially seeing them as attractive. If you learn to find them attractive, sometimes that could be, like, a really good thing. And I don't want to say, like, you should ever start off a relationship like, no, you'll learn to find me attractive. Don't
No.
worry about it. Like,
Right.
no, like, you should initially have something if you don't know them, but if you start to talk to them and then you grow to love the person that they are, and then
Yeah.
the physical attraction comes after that, then I think that's fine. But also, it should still be part of it. You know, you
Yeah.
should be physically attracted to your partner.
If you're not at all physically attracted,
then that's an issue.
yeah, that's
Right.
probably not good.
I mean, actually, I guess it depends on age group too. Like, elderly people, you know, you don't really, you don't care anymore. You're just
Okay.
you're kind of like looking for a person, right? So it's
Yeah.
not. I mean,
you
at that
never know.
point,
Some elderly people are still pretty
True.
spry.
true. Yeah.
That's why they go for the young ones.
Oh, jeez.
Oh my.
So, what do you guys think about rating people, especially when guys do it?
No.
No?
Oh no. I don't ever think that you should I mean, sometimes people will say things like, "Oh, they're a 10."
Yeah.
I think that's just a phrase basically saying that you find them very attractive, like they're a top-notch individual.
Mhm.
But I don't think that you should ever rate somebody be like, "Oh, well, they're like a
4.
4, maybe a 5."
What if you rate somebody in a movie? Because I know that bothers some girls too. I like doing that. I think it's funny. But
I think
I don't really care.
in a movie, because it's a different circumstance than if you were to be friends with like someone and then rate.
Mhm. Yeah, right.
To rate
right.
how they look, but like if you're like Chris Hemsworth, fine looking man, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Right.
but like, have you ever like seen somebody and be like, "Oh yeah, they're a 10." You know what I'm saying? You're just saying that they're like
good looking,
top of the line,
Yeah.
absolutely good looking individual.
But if you're
But you
sitting
don't-
and
you don't,
you're
like,
like,
walk
they're a
around.
7, they're
Yeah.
alright.
Yeah,
but
no, that's
not
just
right.
rude.
Yeah.
I mean, well, and where do you draw the line with that too? Because like I feel like if you went back through like past relationships, because like I think it's funny sometimes to kind of do this, just go back through and be like, who was the hottest girl I dated or something like that. You know, just because that happens sometimes. Like,
Like, compare them?
not compare them. You're just like who did I think was the cutest? You know, like it's. I think that at that point it could be like kind of innocent. You know, you're not like really ever attaching. I guess maybe even in that kind of way it might be bad depending on how you do it. Maybe it's just bad in
I don't
general.
know.
I think it depends on. I think you can think those things.
If
right,
you say it,
for sure, but
But
you
if
say
you're
it,
and are
with
saying
your
it to like all your
friends.
friends.
Yeah, if you're with your friends,
right.
making a list, for instance.
Yeah, I mean, I did that in middle school just to put a time frame on there, but
That's middle school
Right.
stuff. I don't know. I think that comparison is what makes people feel bad about themselves.
for sure.
Like, I think that's where most insecurity, self-esteem issues stem from,
Mhm.
is you comparing yourself to other people, thinking that you're either less or more,
Right.
or
Well, and
you
what's a
don't
rating?
have what they have, and so for you or like another person to vocally say, well,
Right.
I think that
You're
this
like
person was better than this person,
or like
who
that's a
wasn't
10 out
as
of
good as
10,
this
yeah,
person.
It's a 9.
that just makes people feel horrible about themselves if
Right.
it ever gets back to them.
Well, and what's a rating without like something to preface it on? You know, you're obviously like a rating inherently would just be you comparing past experience. So then it's always comparing. So I guess that is a bad thing. I think it is generally a bad thing. I think if it's like a movie or something, that's kind of funny.
I
But
think there's innocent ways to go about things
yeah, right.
and jerk ways to go about things. So like if you're with your friends, rating all of the rest of your friends, that's just rude.
Yeah, right. So this one is kind of funny. I thought it was kind of stupid, but you guys hate guys. Like you said that before we started the podcast. You said you've come to the
Woo.
conclusion that you hate boys.
Well,
Explain.
you see, we have been in
We've both been in long-term
Long-term
relationships that
did not go well.
didn't go well for while we were in the relationship and then after the relationship, and it's not even because of that we hate guys. It's just a lot of the things that guys do, especially at our age, are just so immature.
So explain to them what the explanation that you guys got about how guys function is. Like the whole game thing.
Oh,
We asked this guy when we were visiting some friends, this guy we didn't even know.
That's where you went wrong.
Yeah.
Keep going. Keep
Okay.
going.
Anyways, we asked him about what was even the question?
it was pretty much like how guys
How that guys think about
think
girls.
about girls. Yeah.
And he told us that
Pretty much it was a whole game that they play.
so the minute that they get a girl, they're just not interested anymore. And so the way that girls keep you interested is by playing hard to get. And the minute that they get you, it's just not fun anymore, so they drop you.
Yeah.
And like that kind of became true for us in our relationships, was like we felt like we would put in the effort, and because they knew that after every argument we would just forgive them, and after everything that happened we were just always still there, they just kind of stopped trying. And that just to deal with that for such a long time and then have the other guys that we go on dates with kind of be the same way, it's
It's exhausting.
exhausting.
And
Okay.
it gets to the point where you just don't want to do it anymore.
I need the floor, just for a second.
Okay.
Take the wheel.
Go ahead.
As a representative of the council, right? I gotta make my plea in our case.
Okay.
So this guy's an idiot. First off, why in the freak would you put it that way? But also, there's some legitimacy to what he's saying.
Mm-hmm.
Now, he definitely worded that wrong, right? What men are inherently are problem solvers. Now, women are not problems to be solved, and that's it. But men are also hunters, right? And so we do enjoy the chase. Where we differ from our Neanderthal brothers is we are now advanced people, you know? And so when we get in a relationship, if you really wanted that relationship, then the attraction should not just be gone as soon as you get that girl. You also should not expect to just be forgiven every time or to always have them by your side, because it is a luxury. It is not a right. It is something that you earn every time that you are in that relationship, and every time that you say anything, you do anything, you have to prove it, right? And that's where I think guys go wrong, especially, I mean, dudes like this. Like, what the freak are you? What? Like, I mean, maybe he had the right idea, but like, it's not a chase, it's not a game. Maybe for some guys it is, but I would say for the majority of guys, or maybe just guys that I know and people that I'm friends with, it's not a game. But we understand they're kind of like, you gotta chase after them, do like certain things, and there are some aspects that are reminiscent of games, but it's not a game, and you shouldn't just lose all interest once it happens. Like, if you do, then obviously there's something wrong to begin with. So
Yeah, well, I appreciate that you think about it that way, but I think that a lot of the guys that we've gone on dates with and other stuff just don't see it that way, or the way that they treat us is unfair. I know, we know. That's
our
why
issue.
we hate guys.
That's why we just don't even try anymore.
So
don't give up.
Well,
Aren't you guys like, you're like 18, right?
Yeah.
What the Oh my
I'm
gosh.
tired.
1 year after high school, it's over. We're done. We're
Not
done
even
here.
a year, but yes.
It's just kind of to the point where after being in a relationship for a long time that wasn't very good for you, and I think while you're in the relationship you can't really see it as well as looking back.
Hindsight's 2020.
There are good things about the relationship that you're in, and they're there for a reason, and you might have needed them during that time, but like you were saying,
right, you get different expectations.
And so after that, I have just kind of gotten to the point where I'm happy to not be dating anybody.
Mm-hmm.
And I went on a lot of dates toward the beginning of this semester. Just all the time. I was always going on dates. And you get to the point where you're just kind of tired of repeating yourself. Tired of starting over with every single person.
Right.
Trying to get to know a person to the extent that you knew the person before.
So are you getting tired of putting in effort? Is that what I'm hearing? Because that's what that sounds like. And that's kind of what that is.
You know what? Maybe. But I don't think there's anything wrong with not feeling
I think part of it
a
should be
place
easy, and I think that's what you're saying is like you shouldn't feel like it's always forced all the time and you got to put in all the effort, right?
Well, and when you go on dates with lots of different people, you can't really expect that those people are going to be for you. Like, relationships are with people who are special.
Out, right.
And so it just kind of got to the point, at least for me, where I felt like going on dates was exhausting and I just didn't feel like doing it anymore. I don't know. Is that the same for you?
Well, like, I like going on dates and I like being able to get to know more people because I think it's fun. But when it's to the point where it's just like, oh, well, I know this guy's just here for this. And he just wants someone for the time being and you're that person. And it just, like, I don't know, it just is kind of exhausting being the one to sit and be like, oh, well, like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay, so I want to do this for, like, every guy that listens. I want 3 pieces of advice that you would say are, like, the most important. And I know I'm putting you on the spot here, but I think you guys have been thinking about this. I think you may have a vague list. Put it together. I want 3 pieces of advice for guys to be a good boyfriend. Just in general. It doesn't have to be anything deeper than just little stuff.
1, you can't stop putting in the effort just when you get the girl.
Okay.
You gotta keep going.
Definitely.
Effort. Consistent effort. Okay.
I don't know, it's just like, as soon as you obviously, like, get the girl, you guys, like, after the cupcake phase,
Right.
You gotta keep going.
Right.
Because that's when it just, like...
And I think that includes, like planning things
dates.
for you to
Continuing
do
to
together.
be spontaneous and energetic and like, put an effort, right? That's
Well,
what you're
like,
saying,
I can't
just
even tell you
consistent
how many
effort.
times I was asked by my boyfriend to go on a date, and then he would ask me, what are we gonna do?
That, yeah.
Like, I was
Goodness.
supposed to plan the date for us because he,
I mean, in that case, just ask to hang out.
couldn't
Right?
come up with anything to do.
Well, no, because we'd be like, oh, like, hey, like, do you want to go on a date? Do we want to plan something? And then they'd be like, oh, yeah, what do you want to do? I don't know, can you plan something for once?
And
I've
then
been planning
the answer
it
was
the whole
always,
time.
no, I can't.
Oh, no.
I can't think of anything.
You know
I
I'm
don't
not
have any
good
good
at-
ideas.
You know I'm not good
They
at planning
copped out
dates.
every time,
Yeah,
Every single time. And I'd be like, just think of something. I don't even care.
Here, I'll send you a list of all these things that we could do.
I've done
You
that
choose
too.
something.
Oh my goodness.
And you give them all of the ideas, you like lay it out for them. You're like, I don't care if we even just go walk in the park. Like, I just want to do something with you, but
And
I
especially
don't
something they
always
planned,
want to
right?
have to be
Like,
the person to.
I don't
do
care
it
if
all.
we go and sit on my trampoline and watch the stars. Like, that's a good date. Like,
Yeah.
if that's something that you're okay with, and you just like take a little extra effort to actually like bring a blanket or like a pillow and be like, okay, like
Right.
put something into it instead of
It doesn't have to
sitting-
be big.
Instead of
but
always,
it
let's
just needs
sit
to
in
be
my
something.
basement and watch a movie.
Yeah, because
Let's-
after a while that just gets boring.
It should be
Yeah.
a little bit of
Yeah.
effort or, just like
Yeah.
something, right?
Okay, well, there's our first piece of advice. What's a good second?
I know I put
Don't-
you guys on the spot, so.
Don't go into, like, you have to, I don't know how to word this. Don't go into a relationship just because of looks.
Okay.
Oh, that's actually a good point.
Because a lot of people do that, but they...
Especially if you know that the other person is looking for something more
Right.
Yeah,
than
more
something
serious.
superficial. Like, they're looking for something serious, and you go in knowing that it's probably going to hurt their feelings.
that you're just there because of the way they look, or that they're able to do something, like if they're athletic or something like that. If you're going in just for that, then it's not.
Right.
Yeah, like, if you go into a relationship because of something superficial entirely, then
It's never going to work out.
Right. The roots aren't going to be strong.
And
Yeah.
it hurts the other person a lot
it
more
definitely
than-
hurts their feelings. Especially because I think a lot of times guys act like we don't know that that's what they're there for.
Right.
You can tell.
You can tell for sure.
Right.
Like, obviously, we like compliments, but when it's like, oh my
But
gosh,
that's
like,
not all
you're
it
so...
should be, right?
you're so attractive, oh my gosh, like this and this and this,
Yeah.
like, I know that you just are there for that. So
Right.
Right.
don't continue to, like, I don't want,
You don't only
that.
want that,
Yeah.
right? You want
Yeah.
other kinds of support too,
Mhm.
and other kinds of
Yeah.
validation and things like that.
Okay, third piece of advice.
This is the last one, so I want to hear it from you too, because she's given too.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
Erin,
come
it's
on.
all you.
the way to end it.
The third thing that makes a good boyfriend. I think that they are there for you when it counts.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
Like sometimes hard things happen while you're in a relationship with each other, and some, like, the day-to-day things in the relationship, like, it's not always going to be super super great in your relationship. It's not always going to be
Right.
super bad in your relationship. Most days are just
gonna
right
be
in the middle.
normal.
Right.
It's just normal. There's nothing exciting happening.
But you need to be there for that
But-
too.
But they need to be there. And especially they need to be there
On the days
on
it's
the
hard.
days when it's hard.
Yeah.
And you need them to be there, because when they're not there, when it counts, what's even the point of being in that relationship in the first place? Because after you've gone through that hard thing, you're just sitting there thinking that they don't care about you.
Right. Yeah.
And you don't ever in your relationship want to feel like they don't care about you or they don't love you or other things like that, because they weren't there for both the day-to-day things, but more importantly, when something happened and you needed them there and they weren't.
Right. I think all of those are pretty solid. I would say most, not even most guys, a lot of guys probably don't know that. You know, like let's be honest, they may act competent, but they're probably not really that good at that stuff. I just want to I want to address one more thing before. Well, I guess we could go as long as we want, but whatever. But something that you guys said before was kind of funny, and I think a lot of people encounter this situation. You were saying a lot of your guy friends have had crushes on Erin, right? And so I think that happens a lot in a lot of friend groups. Like I've been in friend groups where, you know, all the girls are interested in one guy, and it's kind of like weird.
I've had friend groups where, like, one of my old friend groups just dated within the friend group.
Yeah, me too. I've had a friend group like that too.
And, like, why would you want to go from one, like, why would you want one of your friends to date your ex-boyfriend and then you just, like, keep going around, like...
Right.
And that's happened.
And that's happened, yeah. And, like, I don't see where that would be very...
Right. But, like, what do you do? Because, honestly, like, they can't help it.
Obviously,
you know? They're just
like,
oh, the person's cute.
You can't just, like, go for it. You gotta, like, maybe, like, tell someone
I think
about
that's
it.
the big issue, is when they shoot their shot,
When
and
you
I mean,
think
like,
you're just friends.
when the other person thinks that you two are just friends, like when they just, like, full send and try and kiss you,
Right.
and you're like, whoa there,
Hang
we've
on.
been just friends for ever, like, years and years and years that we've been just friends,
Right.
and they just, like, break that, it just puts tension on your friendship, and it's never the same.
They're not
after
tactful. They don't ease into it. They don't even, like, drop any hints. They're just like, boom.
Yeah.
I think you guys said something before we started too. You were saying, like, there's situations where it's like 4 a.m. and you guys have been up late and you're both tired, you know, or like you're tired especially, and that person just takes advantage of a vulnerable opportunity, and then, you know, like, how does that happen, and how many times does that happen with you guys, and how do you feel like that affects the friendship moving forward?
Okay, so the thing is that,
like, bad against them because they did that, or do you just
so
hold it
when
against
this
them?
happened, I was actually there
She was
with
there.
her, and I was sitting and I was like, you know what, I'm getting super tired, I'm gonna actually go on this other couch and sleep.
Right.
So I went, slept, and then after she woke me up and she goes, dude, like, you'd never guess what just happened. And I was like, tell me, like, and she told me, and I was like, why would he ruin the, like, I get he wanted to make a move.
What happened?
Yeah.
But he was leaving, so why would he was moving, so why would he want to make a move if he was just gonna leave?
Because
I can relate to that, though.
Because
I'll tell you that.
Well, for this particular person, we had been friends since we were in the 2nd grade. And so to go through all of high school being close friends, and I was dating his friend, and he was dating somebody who's
Sorta
my friend, sorta. And so, you know, both of our relationships ended.
Weird.
And then he decided to shoot his shot. It just made me feel so bad, so gross inside, because I didn't want for that to happen.
Right. Because you didn't want to put a bad thing on a good relationship.
I just don't understand, I guess, why a lot of guys don't see girls as just friends. That when the girl sees them as just friends,
or even if they have feelings,
especially
and the girl
if it's been years that they've been friends.
Well,
right.
When you can tell when someone else doesn't have feelings for you, so if you're sitting and you're like, okay, they don't have feelings for me, but I like them, so I'm just gonna shoot my shot anyways. Like, I don't understand.
Yeah, that's pretty dumb. I would say, like, in the case of, you know, like, just somebody who's moving and they still want to shoot their shot, I think it's kind of weird, but what happens, and, like, what's happened to me is, you know, like, you just want to let them know because you don't want to have you don't want to feel like you didn't say what you could have said, and you just want either some confirmation, like, that they don't like you or they do. And I think what's happened with me is, like, what's the worst thing that could happen? You know, you find out they do like you, but then, you know, you get a kiss and you say bye.
I think that the problem was that there was no discussion. It was just that they just did it.
Right. I think that's where they probably went wrong.
And then they're your
maybe
friends, so you don't want to make them feel bad. So
Right.
you just kind
The
of let it
fact that,
happen.
like, what happens if you do it and then they're like, oh yeah, I like you too. You're moving. So where does that leave you guys at that point?
You may get a little heartache, but I actually think, and I'm speaking from experience here. You may get a little heartache, but it's more fulfilling to know, one way or the other that they do or don't like you, and if they do like you,
just
then
like know where you stand with
yeah,
them.
and you're just like, cool. Like I left off on a good note, and maybe I got a kiss, maybe I got a hug, maybe I got like, it sucks that we didn't do this, and you kind of you kind of laugh about it a little bit, and then you work through that. Mm-hmm. And I think that's better than working through, I never told them, and maybe they did like me, and maybe I wasted that opportunity to just let them know how I felt once and for all.
Yeah.
And I think it's tricky, and it depends on the person. You need to know who you're talking to.
Mm-hmm.
But like, I don't know, I was talking to a friend the other day. I was DMing him on Instagram and everything, and we were talking about this, and I was like, yeah, dude, it was like a while back, a couple months back, but I was like, or maybe last month, I don't know, but I was like, I kind of still like that girl. Like, I still have the feelings that I did when I lived in Washington, but I'm not going to tell her because I think that's the wrong thing to do. I don't want her to think about that. Well, I'm out here and I'm probably not going to come back, or, in that situation, I knew her and I needed to make a decision based off of that. And so I decided not to tell her, but with a different girl, it could have been different. Like, maybe I could have told him, all that. And I guess, like, for anyone that I've lived with or, around, and then they tell me when I move, it's uncomfortable for me. And so I kind of got that, like, oh, that's so weird. Why would you tell me now? Like, come on. Like, I got a message from a girl and she was like, yeah, just letting you know, I know you're moving and everything, but I like, totally had a thing for you. I'm like, it doesn't matter now, huh? Like, come on. Like, but it's weird, especially if you don't know them that well. If they're your friend and you want to figure something out and you want to kind of like resolve those feelings, then that's fine. But yeah, I think it's a tricky one for sure.
The situation that made it hard was because I had always seen them as just friends, and I thought that they saw me that way too.
Okay, so you were confused.
And not even just with this one guy. I just mean
Multiple,
with
I'm telling you.
several guys. I really saw them as just friends, and I thought that they cared about me as just their friend. Like, I had confided in them about some things, and they were important to me as a friend.
Right.
And then when you find out that they didn't like you like that, it just makes you feel bad.
Right, because you're like...
That you cared about them so much in that way, and they just saw you as...
a relationship
just some girl that was cute or something like that. Like, whatever they thought, like, whatever superficial thing it was that they were into like that.
Yeah. Well,
that just makes you feel bad about yourself.
I was friends with a girl for, like, almost 3 years, that I was, like, super into, and she was, like, really important to me. We had a really amazing friendship. I still saw her in a romantic way, but, like, I still cared heavily about, like, the friendship aspect, too, like that.
Yeah.
So I would say, like, don't assume that they just think about you in that, like, relationship type of way. That's part of it, but, like, with me, I cared way more about the friendship part, and that's why, I never told her, especially because I cared that much. I was just like,
mm-hmm.
I don't care to ruin what we have because I value it so much. And even if there's a chance that that's going to work, I don't want to put that at, like on the table to be messed up. I just want it to stay how it is because I value that. And so that probably happens a lot too. And you would never know because they're never going to tell you.
That's probably true.
So, yeah, I just want to give guys a shot too. Just like.
Do you think that guys can be just friends with girls without like thinking about like.
A lot of people don't.
100%, yeah.
A lot of people think that, like, a guy and a girl cannot be best friends, like, just best friends without one person or the other
liking each other?
Feeling something romantic for the other.
Right. Well,
so.
I mean, it's possible. It's totally possible. I'd say the majority of cases one person likes the other person, and...
Do you think a guy can be just friends with a girl?
I mean, I think I could be just friends with a guy and it just, like, not mean anything.
But...
Yeah, I'm good with
friendship.
Apparently not.
I know, right?
I think a lot of the times it is, like, one person likes the other person, but it definitely happens,
it's also a little easier.
Where neither like each other.
If the guy that you're good friends with is in a relationship with somebody else because there's never going to be any boundaries crossed.
Right.
I don't know if you've ever had that experience, but you just kind of trust that they're not thinking about you in that way because they're taken.
it's kind of fun too. You're like, there's no expectations on this
Yeah.
whatsoever. Like, I don't know, like I had a good time talking, with one of my girlfriend's friends, and we got like, I was like, this is really cool because she knows how I feel about her friend and everything, and like my relationship, and so we were able to have like a fun friendship. So yeah, I totally understand that.
That's how I am. My cousin that I live with, she has a boyfriend, and like him and I are just pals. Like we go to the gym together. We like when she's at work, we hang out. Like it's like
Right.
not a big deal.
Right.
But like some people are like, oh, why are you friends with him? Like
Your
that's kind of
cousin's
weird.
boyfriend. Yeah.
But I'm like, it's not. I know how he feels about her.
Right.
Like.
Right.
For certain that I know that nothing would ever happen.
Yeah. Well, and I think like sometimes this is what happens. You think you're okay with just being friends with that person for like years, and then you wake up one morning and the wrecking ball is just there ready to go, and you're like, shoot, I like him. Like that sucks.
I don't think that's ever happened to me.
And that's
where you
agreed.
lost
That's
me.
where.
I mean, I guess that's where we're different, but that happens to a lot of guys. Is they just. That's why it's called catching feelings. It's not like you don't grow it like a plant. You just, you didn't realize
What?
that you were playing the game, but suddenly there's a ball in your hand.
Oh my gosh.
Go,
I'm
brother.
just saying, that's how it goes. So, but yeah, is there anything else you guys want to ask me before we wrap this all up? Anything? Like I got you.
Oh. I don't got any questions. She might though.
I don't know. Do you like dating?
Depends.
Which is better, dating around or being in a relationship?
Being in a relationship. As
So
long
you'd
as-
prefer to be taken than to be single?
Not at the moment. It just depends on where you are in your life. Like, I just broke up with somebody a month ago, so I'm not really there where I'm like ready for a relationship, but I'm definitely ready to go on dates. Or maybe even just go on dates with one person, but not like be so committed.
Be exclusive?
Right. Like I'm okay with being in more of like an open type thing, but I'm not even emotionally ready for that. And sometimes like I don't know. Like dates are fun, That's the thing, and there could be a romantic connection and it doesn't develop, but that's fun while it lasts, It's like good stuff. But relationships are where like the heart of it's at. You're dating for that eventual connection, and that's the part that I love and I cherish. And I'm a get close to you kind of person, Like I love to be connected to people just because I'm quick. I want to get to know people because I leave and I go and do other things, and for me to feel a connection like fast and stuff, it happens. But that's why dates are fun, is because you get to spark that. But that's why relationships are more fulfilling to me, is because you know how they feel, and that's like it's a whole validation in itself.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah. Well, I just want to say thank you guys for coming on and answering a bunch of dumb questions that I had and stuff, and thanks for asking me a couple of questions. I wouldn't say
questions.
I wouldn't say they're particularly dumb, but I had a good time
Couple dumb
answering
questions.
them. I just want to say, like, guys, treat women with respect. Just regardless of what you think, everybody's a person. Just do your best to treat them as such, and try to be, just try to be human. We're all here to do one thing, and that's live. And so if we can get along and just be good to each other, I think that's the best thing. And you shouldn't see a woman as anything less than a person. And if you do, you need to look at yourself and evaluate. Anyway, again, thank you guys for coming on. We'll wrap this up. I have a rec real quick, and we're gonna try those ghost pepper gumballs.
What?
Yeah. It's every other guest does it. So Todd did it. The last guest didn't, but you guys are the lucky next ones.
Go ahead, Erin.
What?
Take it away.
Come on, grab them. We're gonna do this on air, so.
Gumballs, so I have to keep it in my mouth?
It's honestly the sugar. I don't know what it does, but it's not that bad. I've had one already. It's not the worst thing.
You can have it. Calm down.
5 grams of sugar in
If
this?
you
Are
keep
you messing
chewing
with
it,
me?
You'll spit it out. If you keep chewing it, that's when you get the sugar. So you're not gonna
19
swallow
calories
it, right?
isn't that bad.
Quit reading the label
Okay.
and open it up.
Actually, 19 calories.
That's
isn't
not
that
bad. Yeah.
It smells awful.
It's a ghost
Chloe,
pepper.
that's
What's
all
it
you,
supposed
bro.
to-
You're
Give me
taking
one
too.
first. Yeah. I'm gonna take that fatty one. You see how covered that is?
That's like half covered, actually.
Give me. Oh yeah, give me another one. Give me that one. Yeah.
Oh my.
Why'd you put it back in? Why didn't you just eat
You got a full
I
send. You
would
got a full send.
not have agreed.
You can't take the half one. You have to take a whole one.
I would not have agreed to this
Okay.
if I would have known.
Hey, that's why I didn't tell you.
Gosh, are you kidding me?
That stinks.
Where's
Alright,
the
guys.
garbage?
Not in here. It'll be out there.
Oh my.
Okay, ready? Ready? 3, 2, 1.
I can't even bite into it. No, dude, this is freaking spicy.
You good, Erin?
Not good.
Ooh, that's good.
This is the worst combination of flavor.
What is happening in my mouth?
Swallow your spit. Try
No.
that.
No.
Thank you guys for listening. This is Desert Skies Podcast, episode 3. Find us on YouTube, hopefully Spotify soon, and SoundCloud. Thank you very much, and that's it.